And now for something completely different. I asked Larry and Jonathan backstage if they could help me do some of those maneuvers, and they both said, we could do that, no problem. So when I was first asked to speak, when I was first talked to about Failure Lab, my first reaction was, well, what's Failure Lab? And then the second was, wait, are you saying I'm a failure? And I said, okay, I can do that. I've failed a lot of times. There's lots of things. And then after I agreed, I thought, oh my gosh, what did I agree to? I'm going to come here and talk to a gazillion people, give or take a few million. I'm not really good at math. I'm going to talk to you about something that's very difficult for me. It's not something that happened in the past. It's something that's difficult for me on an ongoing basis. And I don't know anybody who really is comfortable talking about something that is difficult, but I'm not a person that's comfortable talking about something that's difficult. It's not easy for me. You see, I'm basically, to my core, I'm a Pollyanna. I can see a positive in just about any situation. I can find humor, obviously, in just about any situation. And they just set me up so well just now for that. And if you look at me and you see this woman in a wheelchair, you don't really see who I am in my core. You see, I have MS. I've had it for 27 years. I started perfectly fine for 15 years, fully able to walk around. You'd never know that I had anything. Then I started having to use a cane, and I called myself a Canaanite. You gotta see the good. And then I started having to use a walker. I don't know, there's not a lot of humor in a 50-year-old woman using a walker. You don't see a lot of young people using a walker, and I really couldn't find anything happy and funny to talk about using a walker. But then I started having to use a wheelchair. And I have always been the overly involved mom of the three not-so-little Piggins, my children. If there was a field trip, I was the mom that was on it. If it was climbing up Mount Belted on the field trip, I was the mom that was on it, I would go up those stairs, down the dune, and to the beach. I would ride the bus for the field trips. I was a Cub Scout leader, and I went to Cub Scout camp, and I sang those funny songs and ate that awful food and slept on those noisy cots and slapped the bugs all night. I was a Girl Scout leader, and I was proud. I taught my brownies some really inappropriate songs, and they're probably all scarred for life. And I was overly involved in their life through their whole lives. But here's the thing, now that I'm in a wheelchair, that makes it a little more difficult. My daughter moved to a second-floor apartment, and there's no elevator in her building, but I still want to be involved in her life. Or my son, who traveled abroad, he went to London, and it's not an easy city to get around in a wheelchair. Or my husband, he likes to take a walk with our dog, our 100-pound lap dog, Wally. Yes. And he wants me to go along with him, but I can't walk alongside him. And here's the real clincher. Your oldest son is getting married, and there's that mother-son dance. And you want to be out of your wheelchair, and you want to be upright dancing, and you want the focus to be on him in that moment. Imagine, how would you feel? How would you feel? As I've said, I try and find humor in any situation, and I've just lost my spot, so I'm going to check on my notes. It's not easy being a four-wheeler in a two-legged world. Your ego takes a beating. It really does. Mine has. And I'm going to go through a couple stories that'll help make this hopefully make it clearer to you. We've had to revise a lot of our house and our lives to adjust to the fact that now I'm in a wheelchair. We've added ramps to our home. We've taken out the carpeting and put in hardwood floors so it's easier for me to get around. And when I'm thinking about going out of the house, I have to plan. I have to do some real pre-planning. But where am I going to go? Does that store, now, can I hobble in using my cane, and will they have a motorized scooter there? Or am I going to have to bring my wheelchair in and then leave it at customer service and pray that no one takes it? Going to a friend's house, I have to think about how many steps they have leading up to their front door. If it's raining outside or it's snowing outside, do I really want to go? Because then my wheels are going to make a mess of their house. And I don't really want to be a homebody because I'm a people lover. I love people. So I want to be out there. I still want to be involved in life. I still want to be seen. I want to be there. But it's difficult. I was at Meyer one time, and I love the reactions of children. Children give you real, raw, endearing reactions. We all know, yeah. There was a TV show, Art Linkletter, right? And one time I was in my motorized scooter going around the store, and this little boy, he kept looking out, watching me go around the department in the store, and I heard him say to his mom, Mom, when I grew up, I want one of those. And the mom looked over, and she saw what he was referring to, and she said, shh, not so loud. I was at the March on Washington in 2017. I didn't see a lot, and we didn't march. There were a few more people than there are tonight. What I did see was a lot of backsides, because they're all about this level. And I really bonded with children in the strollers, because we would compare. Mine has 4 wheels, but the 2 back ones, they're bigger than yours. Ha ha. But for the most part, I was invisible to the adults at the march. Until, that is, I turned around and my daughter was bringing me to the bathroom. And as we're going through the crowd of people, I did this. I was seen, you better believe it. I had to do that to be seen. Until then, nobody really around me knew that I was there because I was not at their level. I'm used to being invisible, now being in my wheelchair. But I also try and do what I can to let people see me, to see my smile, to see my strength, to see my abilities, things that I can do, and not the wheelchair. Like the March in Washington, sometimes that involves using a little humor. There was an assistant pastor at our church for a while. He's not there anymore, darn. Anyway, so this gentleman, every time he would see me, he'd kind of bend down and he'd say, "Hi, how you doing? How are you feeling?" Well, and then he would stand straight up and talk to my husband in a normal voice. Yeah, I wanted to hit him with my cane or roll him over with my wheelchair because I don't relate well to pity. I don't want to be pitied for being in the wheelchair. I want you to see me and not the wheelchair, which means seeing me as somebody that does not need to be pitied. When I already told you when I had my cane, I used the term Canaanite. I tried to find humor in those situations. But sometimes my pride, my own pride, gets in the way of my ability to live a full life, as full as I can. My husband and I purchased an adult tricycle for me so I could go on walks with him and our 100-pound lapdog. I still don't use it because I kind of feel embarrassed being on an adult tricycle. I'm my own worst enemy. So I want to go back to the wedding, my son's wedding. And you're all wondering, did she? Did she? Did she or didn't she? I did. I was at the wedding, and I stood up, and I danced. Didn't necessarily, I know Michael's out there tonight, we didn't really dance as much as shuffle, and he held me up. And it was a wonderfully emotional moment for me, I know. I did all I could do not to cry, the beauty of the moment. But I was so frustrated and so mad because when the pictures were later posted on Facebook, the wheelchair was in the picture. And I felt people were commenting on it because of the wheelchair, that they were thinking, oh, look at the wheelchair, she can stand up? Huh? What? I thought I wanted that moment to be a focus on my son and on his wedding and on his day with his beautiful new bride, Carmen. But instead, I felt the focus was on the wheelchair. And this is where my pride got in the way again. Because really, it wasn't about me or the wheelchair. It was about Michael. I've had Michael in my life longer than I've had MS. And I used to lift him up and carry him around. And he was holding me up on that day. And it was a special moment. I'm getting chills now just thinking about it. It was a special moment for the two of us. My pride doesn't wholly accept my reliance on these assistive devices. The positivity that's moved me through life, that's kept me going, that has some of you laughing out there and thinking, I want a little bit of what she's got. It's not always there. Sometimes I'm just like that mom. And all I see is my own chair. All I see is my own inabilities and my own failings and my own weaknesses. So while I long to be seen as strong and I long to be seen as able-bodied, people often see the chair or nothing at all. And so do I. And there's not much right now that I can do about that. Thank you.